Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to do the top 5 cheapie perfumes or affordable perfumes or however you want to call them. Look, there's a lot to say about this topic. First and foremost, under cheapie, for me, it's not a derogatory term. It's literally a fragrance that can land us under $20, okay? $20 or less. That's for me the cheapie category. Even better if it's 15, that's $15 or less, US dollars, that is. Of course, depending on your budget, you could say, oh, a cheapie for you is $50. I mean, considering the price tags that we have today for perfumes, especially in the niche category or the really expensive luxury category, you could spend $500-600 for a 50 milliliter eau de parfum concentration, or for an extrait 15 milliliter over $300 and up and up and up. Then depending if the bottle is made out of glass or crystal, it can go up even more in price. Some brands bedazzle their bottles with diamonds and gold and what have you. I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to tackiness and price tags. Let's just leave it at that. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Subscribe, thumb up the video, and let's get to it. Cheapies are really important to me because you're going to see the 5 that I've selected for today's video are very particular. They have a history, they have a heft to them, and they were not always cheapies. They used to be, brand new perfumes just launched, some decades ago, some maybe just over a decade ago or less than a decade ago, and they have fallen in some sort of obscurity when it comes to brands that own these perfumes and the names of these perfumes. They've kind of started deeming them almost drugstore worthy or, Amazon worthy or what have you, and not really packaging them in a way that you would certain fragrances and certain brands. I mean, in other words, the elitism is kind of, and the snobism that is usually kind of attached to many really expensive perfumes is gone. Boy, what a liberty, as they say. It's such a freeing thing when a fragrance is there just for the sake of it smelling divine. When a fragrance is there because it withstood the test of time after decades and decades, it's still in production, albeit reformulated and what have you, and maybe packaged in a simpler way so that the production manufacturing costs for the bottles aren't that high. I'm all for it. It's about, at the end of the day, what is inside the bottle. Sure, the bottle plays a really important role as well. The eye wants its part, but it's the perfume at the end of the day. So my first cheapie for today is from the Maison of Cacharel. I adore Cacharel. I just love mostly, Eden, Lulu, and there's another one that falls in the cheapie category, and that would be Anais Anais. So Anais Anais falls into my list today. I have done cheapie lists in the past, but I like to update my fragrance selections from time to time, just as I rediscover, perfumes that I haven't worn in a long time, or because I just kind of am into certain olfactive poetry rather than other. Man, this is good. Anais Anais l'original, or the original. They're trying to kind of give us that 70s formula back for this white floral with green accords. And it's about hyacinth and honeysuckle in the opening notes. And then we got rose, ylang ylang, lily of the valley, moss, vetiver, sandalwood, musk, blackcurrant, jasmine, lily and lily of the valley. It's such a soft white floral with a little powdery touch. Check out my review of Anais Anais's L'Original by Cacharel. This is the 50 ml. There's a 30 ml and 100 ml. The cheapest you can get is the 100 ml, actually, even though I got a 50 ml here because I got it on another special sale at CVS, by the way. Hashtag not sponsored. I bought it myself. But the 100 ml usually costs you $20 or less. Sometimes it can go in the $30 range. But on Amazon, I've often see it like even in a set with a hand cream and a lotion or something. Not hand cream, like a body lotion and a shower gel for $30, the whole set, 100 ml plus the 2. lotion and gels. And then on its own, I've seen it for also around about like $25 to $30, sometimes even $20. In the 100 ml, the 50 ml is a little bit cheaper, but look, some shops even sell it for $60. It's all about like knowing where to look. And if I do find the cheapy price tag, I'll put it down below. But just keep updating and keep looking, you guys, because these prices always fluctuate. But Anaïs l'Original Cacharel is a wonderful cheapie. Check out my review of it as well. And it is history in a bottle. The smell is beautiful. It's elevated. It's elegant. And just my personal opinion, I don't like snobbery in perfumery. I don't like when people just like focus on really expensive niche just because they're expensive and just because they're kind of labeled niche. I have this theory that actually the cheapies nowadays are the modern niche because there's not a lot of them. There's way more niche perfumes coming out, than there is a little bit older fragrances being preserved. There's less older fragrances being preserved that are now in the cheapie category than there are newly launched niches every year. It seems like there's more niche launches a year than there are mass released launches a year at this point. So niche, is it even niche anymore? I would almost say no. Niche is the new mass released item in my opinion. But the cheapie is the new niche because, in my humble opinion, their quality is much better. They smell way more edgy and sophisticated and special. And cheapies smell they have so much more character than almost all of the niches nowadays. So what are we even talking about anymore with the pricing, with the exorbitant, crazy $600, $700, $800 price tags for a perfume bottle when you can get gold, okay, for $20? I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. My number 2 is another really, really beautiful one. Also falls in the cheapie category, although if you go on the website of this brand, you will find the price tag high because the brand itself charges the full retail price, but no one else does. Like from Amazon to Ross to, Marshall's, any discounter, per CVS, everywhere I go, I find it for between $15 and $25. And that would be Oscar by Oscar de la Renta. I love it. This is the first one, the OG, the Oscar by Oscar de la Renta with that logo up there. And this is another white floral, aromatic, woody, powdery. Ah, so beautiful, dry, elegant, sophisticated. A ton of cloves. There's gardenia in here. Peach, bergamot, basil, orange blossom, coriander. And this is just in the opening notes. It is sophisticated. Then we got tuberose, ilang ilang in the mid notes. What else we got? Orchid, rose, iris, lavender, jasmine. Oh man. Cloves, myrrh, sandalwood, more lavender in the base. Amber, opoponax, vetiver, patchouli, musk. I mean, opoponax is also in Dior's Poison. It's kind of a myrrh-like smell, incensey. The incense here combined with the powders, it's so beautiful. And I mean, it's that buttery ylang ylang with the cloves and the myrrh, the cloves in the top notes and the cloves in the base notes combined together. This is so beautiful, so sophisticated. And I mean, it smells a gazillion times better than most niches I smell nowadays. And this is a 30 milliliter bottle. They also have a 50 milliliter bottle. And then there's also a 100 milliliter bottle. I love the 30 mil. It's so cute. Really easy to carry with you wherever you go. So I got this one for around about 20, but I've also seen it for 15. And I've also seen the 100 ml, which is kind of more elongated, just a taller bottle, but the same kind of shape, just more extended. Also for around about $20, And I love these perfumes so much. My mom used to love this when she was younger. She wore Oscar de la Renta a lot, so it brings back also fond memories. And that was back in the day when it was not a cheapie yet, when it was kind of relatively new still on the market. I gotta say, You know, when it comes to these fragrances in general, regardless of whether or not they've been reformulated, and yes, these have had smidges of reformulations going for them, you know, and some people that maybe know the originals are really upset about the reformulations. I don't mind these reformulations at least when it comes to Anais and Oscar de la Renta. These are beautiful current formulas. The batch code for as I'm filming this video, what is this? PH19. If this is the Oscar de la Renta batch code system, I think it's a PH19. And for Anais, it's a longer one. It's 22X9008, my batch code. So some of these are also really intense, and I have this theory, right? I know that a lot of content creators, and I'm going to make a separate video just on that topic, but I know that a lot of content creators that talk about perfumes, they love to overconsume and kind of buy a lot, or they get sent a lot and they keep telling you this is a new perfume, new launch. I'm reviewing the newest launch, and you know, every day it's a new review, and it's like buy more, consume, and then before you know it, you have a whole room with shelves all over the place filled with perfume bottles, and like you're not really using any of them. You're just kind of in that vortex of wanting to consume more and more, but you're never really enjoying them and living with them. And I'm one of those rare examples of content creators that is kind of telling you stop, buy less, the very Vivienne Westwood style, choose well, make it last, and microdose. That's also a topic for another time, but by that I mean reduce dosage of perfume to make your senses sniff out more nuances. Because if you overspray and you constantly overspray, you're going to become anosmic to the smell, and you're not going to capture any more subtle nuances in the fragrance, subtle vibrations in the fragrance if you overconsume it. But if you manage to minimize the amount you put on, and by that I don't mean when you leave the house, maybe when you leave the house you want to spray more because you want it to last a little bit longer throughout the day. I mean at home. I wear most of my perfumes at home. Sometimes I don't even spray them. I would just like lift the lid and sniff it for a second and be like, oh man, this is so good. And just like, it just gives me a smidge of a mood, you know, in a certain direction. It kind of shifts my vibe, energy trajectory in a certain direction, smelling a certain perfume. And it doesn't have to be spraying it on me. Sometimes just sniffing it out of the bottle and then closing it. That is like the microest of microdoses. Like literally, you're not even wearing it. It just a few of the fragrance molecules stick into your nose and that's it. And I do that because I've noticed with time, the older I get, the more I appreciate those subtle nuances of fragrances, and you can only tickle them out if you don't overconsume a perfume. And that's a kind of a topic for another day, but we digress. So the next one, let me blend it in. The next cheapie is a masterpiece. What can I tell you? Giorgio Beverly Hills, released in 1981 originally. I love it. Still to this day, my mom's favorite. It's an evergreen. You know, they kind of didn't let people in the 80s enter restaurants if you were wearing Giorgio because of all the musks and the civets in there. And it was an aggressive shoulder pad 80s bomb of a perfume. They have toned it down a little bit. I think Elizabeth Arden is the owner of this franchise, this brand at the moment, but it has gone through many iterations and reformulations. It has been made in the USA first, then in France. I have versions of it made in the UK. I also have a bottle made in the Netherlands. And then the latest iteration of Giorgio is made in Spain. That's kind of the most watered down version. I'm always really happy if I can hunt down somewhere hiding on a shelf in some drugstore somewhere, you know, dusty, hasn't been touched or seen in decades, a version or a formulation still made in France. If I manage to find one of those, it's like a jackpot for me. But usually nowadays, you're going to find mostly on shelves made in Spain. Giorgio Beverly Hills, also okay, just not as intense as it used to be. So this is, again, a white floral tuberose fragrance, woody, sweet, and we're seeing a pattern forming here. This was kind of also white floral. This was a white floral. And now we have Giorgio as a white floral. There's also gardenia in here. And here we begin this kind of sub-chapter subchapter of this video, because we're talking cheapies, then we're talking microdosing, subchapter, then we're talking white florals, which I adore. That's a subchapter, and then we're talking gardenia fragrances, subchapters. You can see my videos are usually very layered. Thumb up the video, subscribe. And why am I talking white florals in particular this time around when we're talking my list of cheapies? My favorite cheapies. By the way, Giorgio, 90 milliliter. That is a very American way of dosing these, because 3 fluid ounces. Usually European perfumes are not packaged in 90 milliliter. It's either 150, 75, 30. Yeah, this is the 30. The 90 ml to round off the fluid ounce is also a very American number. Makes the bottle also special because it's a quantity that is not quite 100 ml. So it is beautiful. I love the shape of the bottle. So, white florals, why for cheapies? Because there's something so elegant and sophisticated about them. You know, even though you are on a budget when it comes to the cheapy fragrances, or if you are on a budget in general for perfumes, it doesn't mean that you don't, that you're only going to smell subpar, that you're going to smell some weird chemicals inside those fragrances that are they're just going to smell cheap. Some perfumes just smell rancid on the skin because the aroma chemicals that they're using, or whatever synthetic compounds they're using, are of very inferior quality. They don't vibrate well on the skin. They don't mesh very well with your own natural bodily essential oils, with your own chemistry. Some perfumes just stink. They're just made really poorly, really cheaply. They're just like, no love or effort whatsoever was put into them to make them somewhat work on the skin of a human being, and then they're just made for a quick buck. Usually, those type of perfumes are very heavy on the musks, ouds, ambroxans, all sorts of these synthetic ambergris, and they go in this very gasoline-y, oudy, synthetic ambroxan direction, and it's just vile. And then they have a smidge of rose or some really vile synthetic jasmine in there as well, and it's just disgusting. And then when you add that cheap patchouli vibe, if you go in the opposite direction when you're hunting for a good cheapie, and you go into that white floral direction, a whole other world opens up where fragrances are softer, more elegant, and even though the price tag isn't in the hundreds or sometimes even thousands of dollars, like I said, I repeat, my list of cheapies is I've found all of these for $20 or less. Yes, you can find also Giorgio for $60 if you don't know where to look. I'm not saying that Giorgio always costs $20 or less. No, you can find it for more. But I see this on Amazon almost all the time, under 20 bucks. I see it also in all of those outlet discounter places like, CVS, drugstore, Ross, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, and I'm super glad whenever I see it because I love this perfume so much. The cheapest I have ever found Giorgio Beverly Hills for, and I'm not talking like eBay or, secondhand. No, I'm talking like brand new in one of these outlet stores. The cheapest I ever found a bottle for was the 90 ml slash 3 fluid ounces, $12. That was the cheapest I ever found it. And they had 2 bottles. I bought both because I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. So like you can find it for a really good price. The white florals in this cheapy category, they just have something much more elegant about them than the ambroxan synthetics oudy smells. And you're going to do yourself a favor, really, because you're going to, you're not going to spend a fortune on a perfume by buying one of these cheapies, and they will help you just elevate your whole look and vibe. There's an elegance to these fragrances that is unmatched, really. It's so beautiful. Giorgio, also, orange blossom. What do we got here? Bergamot, peach, apricot, tuberose, gardenia, ylang ylang jasmine, rose, orchid, patchouli, cedar, amber, sandalwood, vanilla, musk, chamomile, oak moss. It is kind of like a Chypre-esque construction as well, because we do begin with that bergamot in the opening. We do have oak moss. They do not necessarily list, well, even though they don't list it, it could be in it. I mean, sometimes, I don't know, maybe if we're talking about like 80s formulation of Giorgio, maybe you could smell it more, the labdanum. They're not listing labdanum in the current formulation. Also, Giorgio, if you have a bottle from the 80s, the font is slightly different. And this lid doesn't have that kind of that hexagonal or octagonal shape, but it's rounded with a little ring around it. It says Giorgio on the lid printed. Uh, that liquid has turned golden brown with age. These new formulas of Giorgio, they don't really turn darker. So I think that they've kind of toned down the labdanum, the vanilla, the civet. It's no longer a real civet, obviously. But just bear that in mind, right? This one is not going to hit you like a dagger like the 80s version. This is now a very beautiful, beachy, white floral accord that just makes you feel happy. It elevates the mood. It lightens the atmosphere. And boy, for 20 bucks, feeling like that is just amazing to me. So Giorgio, definitely on my list. I will love this one forever. And so that was my number 3. Number 4, while you're thumbing up the video and subscribing, thank you guys so much. If I do find shopping links to these, I'll post them down below in the shopping YouTube thing. What a masterpiece. And I'm showing you this one. This is, look, there's no logo on it. This is how elegant this is. Okay, even the bottle is so beautiful. Some people say it looks cheap. Not to me. I love this Egyptian type of pillar shape. Even kind of, if you flip it upside down, it's almost like Jurassic Park gates. And then we have a frosted 3-dimensional gardenia flower on top. There's no printed logo or name, but I'll tell you what it is. It is Elizabeth Taylor's gardenia from 2003, or I think it's around, 2003. This one is just a masterpiece. I'll show it to you. I'm using a green screen. So I'll show it to you later here when I pop a green screen. But I can just take this off and to show you how beautiful they have made this lid in the shape of a gardenia. I mean, it is a true gardenia in a frosted plastic kind of click thing. And I love it. I mean, this is very 80s if you think about it. You could turn this into an earring. Wow. I mean, can we talk? Love it. Love this to bits. Or a brooch or a button thing here. I love flowers in general. I got 100 ml bottle for, I'll just point here because this is invisible, right? I got 100 ml bottle for $17. And I rarely see, usually Elizabeth Taylor, if you think of Elizabeth Taylor, you think passion, even more so these days, white diamonds. You rarely or ever think about Elizabeth Taylor's gardenia when you think about Elizabeth Taylor perfumes. But so basically, she loved plants and she loved beautiful floral smelling accords in her garden in Bel Air, where she used to live. And she was known to have a green thumb, and she would love to have guests in the evenings in her home and in the garden. And she would have bushes of jasmines, of gardenias, and she would love to have them kind of just, the waft of these smells in the air in the evening while you're sitting with friends and talking and eating and having a good time. And so she loved those gardenias so much that she wanted to recreate the smell in perfume form. It is the most simple of all Elizabeth Taylor fragrances in terms of its kind of construction. And she wanted it to really get as close as possible to the smell, the true smell of gardenia. Now, we know that gardenias, we cannot really extract the smell one to one. The molecules fall apart. It seems like that perfumery hasn't found a way yet to synthesize them, but there are ways of combining other smells to mimic the mood of a gardenia. And I'm living in a place where there's a ton of gardenias around, and this is, I mean, it's like the closest you can get to a gardenia. It is so beautiful. It's also a little bit poisonous, how gardenia can smell. The indolic aspect of a white floral and of a gardenia, it's nauseating a little bit. Some people do not like the way a gardenia smells. I personally adore it. I can just live in a gardenia bush, okay? And whatever they did to this one, chef's kiss. It smells sophisticated. It smells opulent. It smells rich. It's a beautiful gardenia rendition. I mean, what do we got here? Lily of the Valley, green leaves, orchid, peony, gardenia, musk, and carnation. It's so beautiful. And I mean, I never, and this is the only downside of this one, maybe not so much so, it's kind of more rare. I rarely see, actually, I've never seen it at any one of the discounter places. I have just come across this a short while ago at Ross, of all places. And I was like looking through their perfumes. You know, they have the usual suspects. And then I'm like, what is this? A bottle of Elizabeth Taylor's gardenia for $17. That's 17. $16.99. Okay, that was the price. Blind purchase. And then as I opened it, I fell in love. Then I rushed back to Ross, bought a backup bottle. They only had 2 bottles. You know, I guess it's just not that popular. It doesn't even say Elizabeth Taylor Gardenia on the bottle. It does on the box, on the outer packaging, and it's a beautifully embossed gardenia on the package. It's so beautifully done, so elegant. Some people might think this looks cheap. To me, it doesn't. Also, they went through the effort to make this little metal neck of the spray bottle also metallic green, not just, silver or gold. The lower part here is also green. So the bottom of the bottle mimics the gardenia bush, the green bush, and then the florals are the white gardenia flowers. For $17, like, I mean, if you like gardenias, this is it's a true gardenia to me. It's an eau de parfum concentration. It could even be more dense, more indolic. It could go into that toxinous smell of gardenias even more for my taste. Okay, I could handle it, but I can see how it could go a little bit too far for some. So I want to say I think they found a really nice balance here to kind of make this one more approachable to everybody. I would have gone more conceptual with this one. I would have pushed it even more into that poisonous territory of a gardenia smell. But the way it's done here, really beautiful. The orchid peony carnation combination here as well with the lily of the valley really works wonders. And I've heard some people like to mix this one to combine it with other gardenia fragrances. So be sure to check out my review of Gardenia by Elizabeth Taylor, where I will be also layering it with other fragrances to see just how much more the floral aspect can pop up, including maybe a little something that Chanel did as well. But that's a whole other price category and a whole other combination and a whole other conversation for another day. But let's stick to the cheapies. This is definitely on my top 5. Cheapies, okay, under $20, 100 ml for $16.99, as I found at Ross. Then I checked online on Amazon, and it fluctuates. It goes between $18 to $22. So it can go over that $20 threshold of what I consider a cheapie, but it's usually under $20. So again, like I said, masterpiece. And it smells so much better than most other gardenia perfumes I've smelled. There's a simplicity to this one. There's an honesty to this one. It's just so mesmerizing. Love it. And I love a good when the perfume lid is a flower. Oh, I'm such a sucker for stuff like that. And I love that it's frosted. Perfect 80s earring. Anyway, perfumes know no gender. If you love a good white floral, it's for everyone. If you love the way it smells on your skin, enjoy it. If I do find a shopping link to this one, I'll post it down below. And let me blend this one out. So this is a photo courtesy of the Elizabeth Taylor website, by the way. Credit to the website. They have wonderful photos and a wonderful story that goes along with this perfume on the Elizabeth Taylor website. Love it. Love it to bits. Let me pop the green little screen there. So this little window for the green screen, you can see it's invisible, and now it's visible. So this is how the bottle looks like, the bottle that I have. And here we have that little green metallic little ring I was talking about, and then the sprayer is gold. And there's no logo anywhere. There is a sticker underneath, of course, that tells you the concentration, the size. Of course, they have to by law. But this is kept so minimal. Really, If you love gardenias, how they smell in nature, this is a no-brainer. Definitely my top 5. So that would be my number 4 favorite cheapies. And my 5th favorite cheapie, thumb up the video, subscribe. That would be actually interesting that most of the... Isn't that fascinating? I mean, you got to hand it to America. America knows how it's done. 3 of them so far were American perfumes. Anais is French from Cacharel, but Oscar de la Renta is American. Giorgio Beverly Hills is an American brand. And Elizabeth Taylor, American. Well, my number 4, let's stick with America, baby. We got Liz Claiborne, her 80s masterpiece. This is Liz Claiborne by Liz Claiborne. I have the 30 ml rectangular bottle. Oh, again, a white floral. This is how you play the elegant game. This is how, for a good budget, you manage to smell, feel, look like $1,000,000, you know? Perfumes tell us stories, but they are also magic. They are magic tricks. You use them, some people might say you use a perfume to seduce another person. Rather than seducing another person, I use a perfume to remind me of the past and stories of lifetimes I don't remember that I've ever even lived, from parallel universes and other timelines. And that's the magic of a perfume to me. When I wear a perfume, I immerse myself into an entire different timeline, an entire different storyline for myself. I'm in a different movie. And that's the magic of perfumes, right? So they don't have to be expensive in order for them to deliver that magic. Matter of fact, with Liz Claiborne, uh, this is a 30 ml with the plastic cover and the glass inside. And I love how the sprayer is the same color as the bottle. This is so beautiful. They used to make these in blue, yellow, and red. But they also make the 100 milliliter Liz Claiborne without the plastic cover, which I also have and adore. Uh, the 100 milliliter I've seen so many times. Again, Marshalls, Ross, $15, $14.99, 1 4. 100 mil Liz Claiborne. Usually I see it for $14 to $15. I mean, it is chef's kiss. That's why I kept it for last, because this one usually has the best price of all of these. And again, we have, it's like a modern 80s version of Guerlain's Mitsuko, because it does have that peach. It does have, which is the first fruity chypre ever made was allegedly Mitsuko from Guerlain, with that peach bergamot opening. And then we have that labdanum smidge and oak moss in there. Same here, except a little bit twisted. We have marigold sprinkled in to create a vibe. Man, this is such a masterpiece. Freesia, carnation, green notes, bergamot, lily, mandarin, orange, and peach in the opening of this one. Mid notes, rose, narcissus, lily of the valley, tuberose, lilac, jasmine, ylang ylang, violet. Base notes, oak moss, musk, amber, and sandalwood. I mean, it smells like you're wearing a beautifully woven, put together cotton or linen thick shirt, white shirt with a beautiful large collar, very Katharine Hepburn, unbuttoned a little bit at the top, a little bit like this if it were white, right? And hair washed, minimal makeup on, very natural look. The jewelry that you're wearing, it's like one bracelet or maybe a ring or maybe just one ring and nothing more. Minimal, and then you smell of this. I mean, rich. It really just makes you feel like, wow, okay. For $14. I'm telling you, perfumes do not need to be expensive in order for them to be magical. Okay. You do not need to have 1,000 bottles in order for you to feel some type of way. These 5 that I've listed here are already an entire lifetime of movies, of stories, of experiences, of energies, of moods, of vibes, of magic. They really are. And they do not break the bank. I understand that in today's day and age, even $15 is a lot. I get it. I totally get it. But like when we're dealing with perfumes, we know that there are perfumes that also cost $500, $600, $700 a bottle. So when we can manage to find something so beautiful, elegant, smelling amazing for under $20, for me, that's a win. Regardless of the fact that I know that even $20 is a lot. But it's way less than $600, you know what I'm saying? And for the most part, these perfumes smell much better than the $600 perfumes, just in my opinion only. So, like, are we being tricked there? Is there a scam going on? So I have a sneaky suspicion that a lot of these brands that are doing the niche shtick, it's like they want to, it's like a make money quick scheme, you know, and then they're surprised why their brand isn't doing that well, and then they fail after a couple of years. I'm like, well, because niche brands are popping up like mushrooms everywhere, and, you know, fungi. And or fungi, and you know, everybody thinks they don't have to put any love or effort into it. Yeah, of course it's going to pop off. Everybody's going to buy them. We can make a lot of money quick. Yeah, no, people are waking up and realizing not everything that is expensive is also good. But even more importantly, people, not everything that is inexpensive has to be bad. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumb it up, subscribe. We had a lot of layers to talk about today. Subscribe, thumb up the video, and never give up on fragrant love. And let me know your favorite cheapies down below. And if you want to hear more topics in this fragrant cheapie direction, because I have a couple of ideas of things I would like to talk about still with you guys. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.